Welcome to Rogers That Podcast. Your hosts for today's podcast are Ellis,
Tracy, and Madison.
And today we have a great opportunity to interview Lexi Prendergast, who is in the school to become a lawyer. Welcome, Lexi. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. Our goal is to help our viewers learn more about potential jobs in our local community. We really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and also to sort of be back at Rogers Park. I loved going to school here, and it's so exciting to be able to talk to current students.
First question, where were you born and where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Danbury. I born and raised Danbury Hospital. I went to elementary school, middle school, and high school, all in Danbury. So it's home to me, and my family is still there, and I'm there pretty often to visit.
What middle school did you go to, and what was middle school like for you?
So I went to RPMS. It's kind of crazy because I think I was just like you guys back in the day. Middle school was really awesome for me. I know sometimes it can be like a weird time, it's like right before high school, right after elementary school, you're sort of in this like in-between place. But my classmates were really fun. I actually met my very best friend in middle school. She and I are grown-ups now, and I'm going to be the maid of honor at her wedding in a few months, which is pretty crazy. I met a lot of my really close friends. I had amazing teachers at Rogers Park, and it was a great time for me to sort of like learn a little bit more about myself and my interests and what I liked and didn't like. But I also think middle school came with its challenges. Like, you're still growing up and figuring out who you are, and you're sort of at that phase of life where like, I think middle schoolers don't always have like a huge like filter and can say all kinds of things to each other, sometimes kind, sometimes not. And so I think it was like a really integral part of my growing up. But I had a really great time at RPMS, and I am super grateful to the teachers there and to the administrators there for making my time so special.
Where did you go to college and what did you study?
So I went to Wesleyan University. Wesleyan is a really small liberal arts college, and it's in Connecticut. So I didn't have to travel too far. It's about an hour and 20 minutes away from Danbury, I would say. So by the time I got to college, I had a good sense that I was really interested in government and in politics. I really thought it was super important. Something I learned while I was at Danbury, while I was in high school and middle school, is how important it is to try to be involved with your community and try to make all the best changes you possibly can to your community, and how important and valued like young voices are. And so by the time I got to college, I already knew that I wanted to get involved in politics, get involved in law in some way. I wasn't totally sure what form that would take yet, but I was a government major, and I also studied something called the College of Social Studies, which is, as it sounds, like Mr. Bettis should probably know a lot about it. But basically, you study history and economics and government, like all three of those things. And I was in a special program where there were only 30 students. And so every single week, like in the classroom, we would meet and like talk about our ideas about the world in this very like small and tight-knit environment. And we could really challenge each other and debate with each other and learn from each other. And so I think my college experience was very special in that way. And, there's a lot of amazing schools out there, but I think I really liked my time at a liberal arts college because it was small and intimate, and you got to know a lot of your classmates very well.
When did you first want to become a lawyer?
I think I was interested in becoming a lawyer when I was around 16 years old. It was after I had graduated from middle school. I was on to Danbury High School. I think you actually had another guest on this podcast, Senator Murphy, U.S. Senator from Connecticut. He actually has this awesome program. It's called the U.S. Senate Page Program. And he can sponsor one high school student each semester, depending on whether or not he gets a spot. The Senate is usually, they hand out the spots. And he can sponsor a high school student to come work at the Senate. You go to school from 6 in the morning to 9 a.m. So you have to wake up really early. But you guys do that already, right? Like, what time do you wake up? Like 6
a.m.?
Yeah,
6,
6
7.
a.m.
6, 7.
That is brutal. Yeah. So you wake up at 6 in the morning. You guys would be great at this. You're already used to doing this. And you go to school for the first 3 hours of the day. And then you go to the Senate floor and you're there where all the senators are giving their speeches and they're like handing out, you're helping grab them their speeches, helping get them set up for the cameras, all of these things. And then you get to watch their speeches in live time. And so Senator Murphy actually picked me to do that when I was over at Danbury High School, and I got to spend 6 months in the Senate Page program. And I think, like watching the senators give these speeches, I sort of realized like there's all sorts of things that I think I can contribute, as a lawyer or somebody who's involved in the political space. I think there's a lot of people in politics who don't like really understand what it's like to come from like a normal family and, to have like normal needs, like healthcare and like help when your family is not doing so well. And so I think I felt really inspired from that 6 months on the Senate floor, and I think I wanted to be a lawyer at some point after that because I figured that would be like the best way to get involved.
How long have you been in law school for?
So I've been in law school for 1 year, and I'm going into my second year now. So I just started my second year. So I guess in like middle school years, I think law school is actually a lot like middle school because you've got 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I would be the 7th grade equivalent of a of a law school student because it's the 3 years. So I'm right in the middle.
How has your journey been like becoming a lawyer?
It's honestly been amazing. I think that being a lawyer or like being in the process of learning to become a lawyer, it gives you so much agency, like when I was back home in Danbury, like I would see things happen to like members of my community who are struggling or like maybe needed some sort of like representation in court. And learning how to do that like feels really, really powerful, and learning how to be able to help your friends and family with like even small things when they're having like a little bit of trouble with something and they're just like, how do I do this like legally, what is like the recourse here, and like you're starting to learn of how you can advise them someday and how you can someday be helpful to them. So my journey to law school has been really, really awesome and special. And at one point during my journey, I was actually an English teacher in Belgium, and I also taught middle schoolers there. So I actually taught the equivalent of your age group to Belgian middle schoolers who are really, really interesting characters, and they speak like multiple languages. Like the middle schoolers in Belgium speak like 5 different languages. And they were super unimpressed that I only spoke 2. So they're pretty crazy. But I tried to do lots of things along the way, like different things and non-legal things, like teaching, to get a better perspective once I actually became a lawyer. And so I'd recommend on your way to law school and on your journey, taking some time off, taking some time in between, just so that you can, learn and grow and discover different areas of life apart from like the law and just what you want to do for a career. So,
What type of law do you want to practice?
that is an amazing question. Okay, so I think I want to do something into the international space. I'm really interested in human rights law. Part of the reason why I came to Yale was because they have a great program where they actually send students to work with the UN. And we have one of the professors who leads the clinic runs a working group at the United Nations. And so she works specifically on discrimination against girls all over the planet, not just the US, but all over the place. She looks at like, how can we prevent discrimination that's happening against girls? Like, how can we get them to school? How can we get them to have equal rights with everybody else? And so it's been exciting to learn under her and to have the chance to go work at the UN. And so I think the dream is something international and something in the human rights space, ideally.
What are some jobs you've had in the past?
Amazing question. Okay, so right after graduating from college, I worked for 2 years at a law firm in Boston. And that was really good because I had the chance to learn a little bit more about like how law works and whether or not it was something I actually wanted to do. Law school is really expensive. And so I think the more experience you can get as a paralegal or just doing something else, to get a sense of whether or not it's for you is really important, because you don't want to spend 3 years doing something and paying for a degree that like is not something you're interested in, and that's okay. Like it's okay to realize that you don't want to go to law school. I've had a lot of friends do that. So spent 2 years there. I was like, I think I really want to do this. But when I was at that law firm, I noticed that a lot of people, once they started being lawyers, they didn't really take much time off to do other things. And sometimes all they'd ever done was law school and like work at a law firm. And I think that sometimes because of that, they didn't have a lot of perspective on what it was like to just, do real life and to do other things. And like when you have a client, for example, who is a teacher or something, and they need a lawyer to represent them because something has happened to them, something bad has happened. You want a lawyer who can look across the table and be like, I've been in your shoes before, or I've done something similar, and I can like relate to you and empathize with you. I think that's really important. And so that's why I decided to go teach in Belgium for a year. And that was really special because I was around people who have a different culture than mine and who think really differently. Like I was saying, those middle schoolers who spoke 5 languages and were like, Lexi, why do you only speak 2? What's going on with you? And so like learning about different perspectives and like I learned so much from my students. I learned more from them probably than anyone else. And so taking time off to do that job, I think was really special. And then I came back to the US and I basically started law school not too long after that.
What was it like to work in Hillary Clinton's office?
Ooh, that was really awesome. So the way I got that job, and I'll tell you guys this. So Hillary Clinton came to the Danbury Costco a few years ago. Have you guys been to the Costco?
Yeah.
I love the Costco. I'm there all the time. And she came to Costco a few years ago for a book signing after she lost the 2016 election. And I had really admired her. And so there was a line that was forming right outside Costco at like 5 or 4 a.m. Like people all wanted to go there and see her. And I got in a line and I waited. And when we got through the doors, I introduced myself and I handed her my resume. And I said, can I intern for you? And I never expected them to call me back, but I actually got a call back from someone who worked in their office and was like, why don't you come work for her? And I was like, that sounds great. So I went and I worked. I was in New York for a little while. Her personal office was in New York. And it was really interesting to see the things that she was involved in, how even after suffering a huge loss in the presidential election, she still picked herself back up and went right back to work doing things that were meaningful to her. And I think no matter what your politics are, whether or not you admire someone like that, I think the lesson there is to always, even after huge losses, sometimes embarrassing losses, to give yourself some time to grieve and then to get right back to it, doing something meaningful and special to you. So that was a great lesson that I took away from that. And I think I've carried that through my life.
What was it like being a Fulbright scholar?
That was really awesome. Fulbright is such a special program. I think like having the opportunity to go overseas, it's expensive and it's hard to get on a plane and it's not something that a lot of people have a chance to do. And Fulbright really makes that accessible to people and connects you with different like opportunities in different countries. And I think that's really special. I had the chance to improve my French, which was really valuable to me just because I don't have the chance to speak French when I'm in the States as often because not as many people can use the language. So it was awesome getting the chance to do that, to meet middle school age students from a different country. And also just to make some special lifelong friends out there. I have friends who are in France now and a couple of friends who are still in Brussels, Belgium. And it's really special to get to know different people who you wouldn't otherwise meet. And what's also special is, have you guys been to Washington, D.C. by chance?
I have.
Yeah. Well, if you have a chance, you should definitely go. But, Washington, D.C. is the capital of our country. The European Union, it's like a bunch of different countries out over there. And their capital, their Washington, D.C. is Brussels. And so I got to see like the Brussels government at work. I got to see the Brussels Parliament, and I got to learn a lot about what politics are like in the European Union, which have some similarities and some differences from the United States. So that was pretty cool.
What hobbies or activities do you enjoy to do out of politics? Not politics, or what you do for law school?
That's a great question. And I think this is such an important question too, because like having a career is important, but your career is not everything. Like having a life and getting to do things outside of that matters so much. So I love to bake. I make a really great brown butter chocolate chip cookie recipe. That's my favorite thing to do. Anytime I'm hanging out with friends, I will bake like a pie or cookies. Like I'm known for just showing up with something. I'm also a bit of a stress baker. When I have a lot of homework and I don't want to do it, I'll just go bake like a big batch of cookies. I like to run. I think it's important to try to like get outside when you can, spend some time in the sun. Even in the winter, I try to go out there and exercise a little bit. I love to go hiking, especially now. All of the colors, like the reds and the oranges and the yellows, beautiful. I love to go see that. And I love to travel, getting the chance to see the world, I think is really important. And so anytime I have a chance to go on vacation, like even in the United States, like a national park or something, I will take it. But it is expensive and I'm on a student budget. So that's a little bit harder lately. I think I'm sticking to Connecticut for now.
What is your favorite place to visit in Danbury?
Oh, okay. You guys are gonna laugh. But this is gonna sound crazy. I really love Stu Leonard's.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Crazy, I know. Other people are gonna be like, why didn't you pick some like awesome restaurant? There are so many. But I love Stu's. I love like, I love walking around, and I love it in the fall with like the jack-o'-lantern, like all the pumpkins outside, and the free samples are my favorite thing. I always went there as a kid and got them. And then like all of the like talking milk cartons and egg cartons are just, there is no other experience like Stu's. And I try to explain it to other people. Like, have you been to Stu Leonard's? And they're like, what is that? Like, what do you mean there's a talking milk carton? Like, but one of my favorite places in Danbury for sure.
Besides Danbury, what was your favorite place you have ever visited?
Oh, that's a really great question. So my mom is from the Philippines. I'm half Filipino, actually. And I really love going there. It feels like a special home, like a home number two. And so, just being around our family is really nice. There's this beautiful, the Philippines is made up of 7,000 islands. It's like a big island country. And there's this beautiful beach called Boracay, and the water is like blue, like crystal clear blue, and the sand is white. And it's just a beautiful place, and it reminds me a lot of my heritage and my family. So that's my favorite place in the world. So maybe that's cheating a little bit because that's home number two, basically. But if I had to be honest, that's my favorite place.
What are your plans for the next year?
Also a great question. So for the next year, I'm going to be here in New Haven in law school. I think I'm still going to be involved in the Human Rights Clinic over here. I'm also involved in the Civil Rights Project here at YLS. And so that's basically, we're working with people who are experiencing like deportation and struggling with that a little bit. We're trying our best to represent them and help them through that process. I'm also going to be here, I think, just working really hard to learn as much about the law as I can, so I can be an effective lawyer when I graduate. And I'm also going to be so I'm going to finish out the year in New Haven, finish out my second year of law school, and then I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. working at a law firm over the summer. So, and then hopefully after that, maybe I can make it out on a 1-week vacation or something like that before school restarts. So that's
the next few questions are going to be rapid fire questions, so try to answer them as fast as you can.
Okay, sounds good.
What is your favorite pizza topping?
Pizza topping, mashed potatoes. Crazy, but you have to come to New Haven to try it.
What is your favorite drink?
Favorite drink, bubble tea.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Favorite food?
Favorite food, pancit, which is a Filipino rice noodle.
What's your favorite fruit?
Was that favorite food or fruit?
Fruit.
Fruit. Okay. Oh, good question. I think I really like clementines. Yeah.
What is your favorite animal?
Favorite animal? Dogs. I love dogs.
What is your favorite color?
Blue.
These are this or that questions.
Awesome.
Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Dunkin'.
Ketchup or mustard?
Definitely mustard. Ketchup's great too, though.
Basketball or soccer?
Soccer.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to be a lawyer?
That's a great question. The first thing I would say is, think really carefully about whether or not it's something you want. I think a lot of people go to law school because, they're trying to figure out like what they want to do in life and they're not really sure how to fill like this period of time. And they just go because they're like, oh, this is a thing that like could be interesting. I think really taking the time to make sure you want to be a lawyer is super important. I would also say, the important thing is not to give up and to have resilience. The legal field is tough by its very nature. It's competitive, In the United States, this is very specific to our country. In Europe, they actually have a different process where like lawyers are more collaborative and they work more with each other and they work more with judges to like come to a solution for their clients. The United States is different because the theory behind our legal process is we think that by like sort of being adversarial and kind of fighting each other, you'll come out to the right end. You'll come out with justice for your client. And there's a lot of questions about whether or not that's the right way of doing things. But it's just the way our system works. And so I think that like sometimes like the field of law can be a challenging place, especially if you don't have like parents who have done it before you. But just working hard and not giving up and believing in yourself is so important because, I think a lot of people who go into the law field, like legal field, are so talented and so capable. And half of the work is just believing in yourself and believing that you're capable of doing all of that and just like working really hard and never letting anybody tell you that you can't do something.
That concludes our discussion with Lexi Prendergast. We truly appreciate you spending time with us today to tell us a little bit about yourself and your job.
Thank you so much for having me. The three of you are so smart and amazing. I can tell just from this interview, you're going to do awesome things. And it was so, so nice to talk to you today.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another great episode of Roger's That. See you next time. Bye.